Hi, everybody. Today is February 26th, and believe it or not, this is our second to last class in risk analysis. So we are really just getting through this material, and it's a lot of material, but you guys have been doing a good job. I am a day or so behind in my grading, so I have not graded your method sections yet, but I will get to Lillian let me off the hook, so thank you. That's okay. And I will not know. So if you're a little bit late, nothing to worry about. I won't even know till tomorrow probably. So that's a good thing. But let's take a look at where we are. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll talk a little bit about risk analysis and where we are and how it's going to go. And then did I share? There it is. Okay. Now this is just going to be strange because I see it over here and over here. There, how's that? There, now you can see it, right? Okay. So it's just the two screen thing. All right. So basically where we are, if we come down to today's date, we have talked quite a bit about the literature, the methods section. And I put up a resource here. It's an article about comparative literature resource. This might be something that'll be very helpful to you on your methods section. So the reason for that is
I can only see your home Moodle page.
Oh, that's no fun. Let me look. All right, so let me look again.
Too many tabs open.
Yeah, I know. Andy's gonna get mad at me. So all right. Do you see our Moodle page with okay, and then you see right here it says comparative literature resource? Okay, good.
Yep, I see it. I see it now.
Good deal. All right. So I was thinking about that because I put up the Diaxis tool, which is really, it was an example. If you were doing a narrative analysis, and Bo, for example, in your field, if you had talked to some professionals who had restrained juveniles one way and people who had restrained juveniles another way, and there was some sort of a conversation that they had, the Diaxis tool would be a good way to look at it. But the method section that most of you are going to be using is a comparative literature where you're saying, I read these 3 articles that said it's good and these 3 articles that said bad. And then, so I'm going to analyze it using the comparative literature, using comparing those literature issues. The other thing about the methods section is, and if you turned it in, that's brilliant. And I will definitely get it graded right away. The other thing about this method section is it really should only be a couple of pages long. So the big deal is you just want to make sure that you don't talk about what you actually did. I mean, you talk about your research, what you read, or how you're going to analyze it, but you don't talk about your results or your conclusions. You're just saying, these are the things that I use to make my comparison. And so it's sort of, the other thing was I was talking with one of your classmates this afternoon, and I said, it really feels, when you write a research paper like this, it feels like you're repeating yourself quite a bit, and you are, but that's sort of the deal. You sort of look at it, you look at it, because we keep talking about the same thing. What we've done is, essentially, we've read, 5 or more articles, and then we're talking about what we determined was going to be useful. We have that introduction that we wrote that has a more personal flavor to it, but then we're leading into this analysis of some of the literature. So if it seems like you're repeating yourself, then that means thumbs up. You're doing a good job, but it does seem that way. But so the methods section is only going to be a couple of pages long. So it's not, it's just, this is what I'm going to do. Even if you've already done it, the topic is, this is how I'm going to look at this is how I'm going to study my problem. This is how I'm going to study young people's decisions that are not totally rooted in reality or safety or anything else. So, or whatever it happens to be. So then the next part is, we're coming up on, I didn't ever particularly give you an assignment to turn in your literature review, but what I've done is I've put up, and I'm still talking about the paper. The literature review is 90% what you've already done on your annotated bibliography. So the literature review just summarizes all of the articles that you've read that go into your analysis. Smith says this, and Johnson says this, and this other person the other person kind of comes in between the two and says this other thing, or these three authors speak about it in one way and they look at this as being the best method. On the other hand, these other three authors look at it this other way. So it's just sort of a discussion of that. But here on the Moodle page, I did put up a literature review example. Let me go ahead and bring this up and I'll just show it to you a little bit. And this is more, I'm going to go ahead and do a new share here. Just a second. And as Andy says, too many tabs. Okay, so Bo, do you see a paper saying literature review at the top?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. All right. So this literature review is one I did for a professional paper a couple of years ago. So the point I want to make is this is more in depth than you would have to do, right? I mean, this is a different kind. It's the same kind of thing, but this is just an idea. So the first line is just literature review, bolded and centered. And then you just briefly describe that you're doing literature review about your subject. Then the next, if there are different pieces to it, like maybe these are the articles that are pro what I said, and these are the articles that are against what I said, you would do a second level heading, which is flush left, bold, and the first word is always capitalized. So title case, I guess is what they call it. Then you talk about those, and then you would have your second, same thing, whatever, so the first one would be, these ones say yes, these ones say no. And then, and I had a bunch of sections, is what I'm saying, so you're not going to have this. And then at the end of your literature review, you may have something that like pulls it all together. You don't have to really, but the contextualization just means this is why I'm looking at this problem, so it's a little bit of just the why of what you're doing and maybe just a paragraph or so. Anyway, the literature review is based on the annotated bibliography that you've already done. And so the reference section, this is a different section, it's the very end of your paper, but it's from that as well. So the annotated bibliography you did is already 90% of your literature review, and it should be 100% of your reference section. So you got it all, that's the good news. So it's already done. But the only thing that I wanted to point out was this reference section is formatted correctly. So in other words, your references are going to be in alphabetical order. And then the rest of the material, the date is in parentheses. And then if it's from a book or if it's from an article, you just describe that. Now, once again, if you're using Google Scholar will do this about 90% correctly. So you just have to, you can ask for the citation in APA, and then you'll just have to just mess with it a little bit. So the one thing is they should be single spaced. They should have a space in between each reference, and they should have that hanging indent. So, and you don't have to do that. I don't know if you've ever done that, but you can do the hanging indent just from the paragraph feature. Okay, on Microsoft Word. So if you have, in other words, I've had people that have like spaced it over, tabbed it over, and you don't really have to do that. So if you need some help with that, let me know. All right, so let's go back to the Moodle page.
Double spaced.
I know, and it's sort of a funny thing.
I do mine out of Word.
Yes.
References.
Yes.
So if it's not right,
It's worse. Well, get it. So I understand. I understand. So let me get this. Okay. So now we know. Let's see. So Bo, are you back on our Moodle page?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So this week, basically, and like I said, there's two things I want to say. First of all, this class is so short and so fast. 8 weeks is just amazing, and you guys have all done a really good job. The class actually ends the Sunday as spring break is finishing up. So in other words, we'll have a class next Monday, but everything isn't due until the Sunday following. If you need a couple of extra days, just let me know, because it's not a problem for me. I really love to have those gaps, especially if you're having another 8-week class coming up after spring break, it's kind of nice to have a breather and remember that you're a human being, and maybe, I don't know, whatever you like to do, read a book, make a meal, go see a movie, whatever it is. But but if it's not possible, if that is not your fate, it's fine with me if you need a little bit extra time. So just let me know if that's the case. All right. So I've tried to structure everything so you will have a little time, but sometimes life doesn't work out that way. All right. So coming up for this week, at the end of this week, there are 2 sections that you'll do: the results and the conclusions. And I've put examples on the Moodle page once again. So these are 2 sections that after you've done the literature review, the annotated bibliography, and after you've done the methods, you're going to have everything you need. You don't have to go outside anymore. Everything is going to be there for you. So the results just says what happened with you. It's like, I looked at these 6 articles and these are the things that they said, and this is what I think, right? And the conclusions just sort of narrates that result, So
So we
yeah.
might not cite the references
You
during our conclusion and.
you can. You don't. We're going to talk about an abstract in a minute. You don't cite in the abstract.
But you can.
Yes, you
I
can.
was counting on.
Yes.
I think it was implied that we've written this style of paper before. I have not. I
See?
don't think we're.
Well, and when I was talking with your classmate today, this is a new style of writing for me as well. Because what I'm used to do, I mean, it's not new, but I mean, it's only been a few years that I've been writing like this. Because I think we all have our own, our tasks that we do. And so for me, most of my writing has been either plans of work or institutional writing, and everybody has every type of writing has a different style. Well, this, which is a traditional research paper, is like, if you go on in academics, I'm not suggesting it, but I'm just saying, if you chose to go to like law school or if you went to graduate school, the research paper is like the foundational piece of how academics write. And it's kind of odd that I would say that, because like Andy and I both work here at the college, and neither one of us this isn't really the way either one of us writes, but I mean, in a certain way. So
Every poster out in the hallway is written like this.
It
I
is.
just noticed that.
Yes. Oh, that's wonderful. That's a wonderful observation. That's yes. And if you were doing a brief, like, and I took classes with a bunch of attorneys, and they said this isn't even, it's like 90% the way they write, but there are certain things that are different, But if you do choose to go to graduate school or law school, you're going to be 90% in the ballpark. If you're going to go to graduate school in any type, this is the standard. So those are the things that we're learning.
And I only brought it up
That's a very good point.
this is my first attempt at something like
Yes.
this. I am not at all comfortable with it,
Yes.
so cut us some slack.
I will.
I'm just like, I know I'm overthinking it and making it harder than it really
I haven't seen an
is.
example.
Yeah.
was like,
Well, and one of the things that I mean, I think I understand exactly what you're saying. One of the things that I really had to overcome, everybody's going to have different things, but for me, like doing the methods section of a research paper is really hard for me because I've already done everything. So it's really hard to sort of like, I felt like I had to go back in time and say, this is what I'm going to look at it. But it's like, I already did that. So it felt disingenuous, because sometimes, quite honestly, when I was doing papers like this, I would think I was going to do it one way. And then as I started looking at my data, I would be, no, I'm going to do it this other way. And so I had to go back and rewrite my method section, which seems really artificial, Maybe I shouldn't even say that. Maybe nobody else has ever done that but me, but it's like, I don't think so. But I mean, so the method section was really hard for me. And the other piece that was really interesting to me was you tend to learn more while you're writing. And so that's why you always write the abstract last, because the abstract is just going to be this little short blurb that just summarizes the whole thing, right? And it's like you don't really know what the summary is until you're finished, which is backward because it's the first thing in the paper, So yeah, so I agree. This presents a challenge. The cutting of slack is, I'm a big fan of that. So if
Well, I will tell you, my
Yes.
methods turned out to be, here's where I found these sources.
Perfect.
I don't even mention them.
Huh?
And then I go on to say, yeah, it's a very broad topic. And I found papers that don't apply to me that say this and ones that,
Yes,
and, I don't believe
Yes.
this.
right.
So I wasn't happy
With your
how-
methods.
yes.
Yeah.
and I will probably, I'm looking forward to the results. That's what the
Yes.
meat of it is.
That's it. Exactly.
Until I do that,
Yeah.
I don't know how I can get the rest of it.
Well, I always like the results and the conclusion the best. I like the conclusion the best because the conclusion you can do a little narrative like we did in the introduction, where you tell your own personal story or something that's interesting to you. And then you kind of get into the nitty gritty. And then the conclusion, you can kind of go a little bit farther, a little bit more narrative and kind of talk about why you're interested in this again, if you want. But I agree. I think for me, like some people really have trouble doing like the references, but as an engineer, just show me the format and I'll do it. I mean, I can do that in my sleep, So it's like that was like a relief almost. But the harder part was separating out those pieces of the puzzle. But like I said, you've got that literature review, or excuse me, you have your annotated bibliography, so that means you're going to have your literature review and your references already done. Then we'll talk about the results and conclusions this week, and there's some good documents on that. And then it says submit your results no later than Sunday. But like I said, if it's a little bit late, I'm fine. I would love to give you, not give you, it sounds like I'm doing that. I would love to structure this course so that you would have a week off. But if it doesn't work out that way, it's fine with me. So anyway, then next
Esther,
week.
I had a question for you.
Yes. Yeah.
So the results are just the finding of the 5 articles, and then the conclusion is just a regular conclusion like it would be in any paper, right?
Right. The conclusion is like what you make of it all. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So the conclusion is like
Our takeaway from it.
your takeaway. That's beautifully put. Yes, exactly. And so yeah, so the results might be, and I think I'll make sure I have some good examples here. I'll go back through them and make sure. But you can see, okay,
Are
so
you
like
wanting
here's,
these to be a certain length, or
I would say every section tends to be a page or not even a page. Like I want to show you one here. This is a results section from a paper I
because
did.
I felt like on the last one I could have went a lot further, but I stopped at a page just because I wasn't sure.
Yes. Yeah. As you can see on the results here, this was a professional article that got published, but I mean, it's less than a page, right? So that's what a results could look like. And then a conclusion, let's just pull up a conclusion here. And I use these from all kinds of different papers because I didn't want to make it seem like you needed to do it a certain way. So I didn't want to like get vested in one way of doing it, or one paper, because what if it doesn't have anything to do with your paper? So I tried to get a bunch of different papers. But so this is a conclusion from a different paper. And so this was like, I wrote this, and this actually got published in the American Society of Engineering Education's co-ed journal. I did a whole bunch of work on the K-12 initiative in Wyoming to institute computer science, and that's what this was. But the week before I wrote this paper, this old hippie author from California named Joan Didion had died, and I was just reading a bunch of her stuff, and so I incorporated a quote from Joan Didion into the conclusion, which is a little weird, but it was on my mind, so I mean, but that's why I like the conclusion, because you can kind of do a little bit more personal stuff. The rest of it, after the introduction and up into the conclusion, the rest of it's pretty cut and dried, isn't it? It's like, yeah, format. So anyway, but you can see, like I said, this is a page. The results was less than a full page, so that is perfectly acceptable for the work that we are doing. And I will definitely, oh, no, not you. Here we go. There we go. That's better. And I will definitely first of all, be available to help you. And then second of all, if you do all the work, you are going to be fine. You know, I understand what you're saying about not having done this over and over again. So I don't know what my screen is doing to me. I'm clicking too
Well,
much, I think.
We'll test your limits.
Well, hold my beer, he says, right? So, so, all right. So Bo, do you see our risk analysis page again? All right, good deal. All right, so that's it. That's all I have except for questions tonight. But like I said, there's a couple of lectures here. There's since we're still talking about risk management, I really like this document, 10 1-minute risk management tips. I mean, because really, when we get down to the idea of risk management, every profession and every industry has their own exact methods of risk analysis. You know, I mean, they know there's like step by step, there's methods, but overall, there's like a bunch of things that are across the board philosophically about risk management. So I included these tips, which I just thought were really succinct and really said a lot about risk management. So what questions do you guys have for me?
So it won't be a disastrous thing if we go back and tweak some of these sections.
No, not even. No, not at all.
Well, yeah, because I was thinking thinking back over my introduction, and I was like, I didn't talk anything about vaccines, so I'm gonna have to tweak it to
Right.
tie it into.
Yes, absolutely.
So, but I have an idea how to do that. So,
Fantastic.
or another paragraph, or how I change, or maybe take some of it out of the first and then add a little more.
Exactly. That kind of thing. It's great. So, you know, and the other part is, I mean, I know that tweaking part takes a long time, but it's not like at the end you're going to have to rewrite your paper.
Everything.
Yes, that's right. So,
So
I can
the
see that.
literature review,
yes,
that was our annotated bibliography.
very similar. Yes, exactly.
So do we have,
Some of the sections, we do include.
Yes.
that one?
Oh, yes. You know, I should post
Okay.
this. So,
I can't remember all of them.
no,
Yeah,
no.
I don't
Well,
remember
let me show you.
the literature review and the sample?
Right, so let me show you this. I hate to, okay, so I'm gonna pull up our Moodle page again. This is hidden from you guys, but it's coming up next week. But here's the final, oh, let me pull this over here so that you can see it. The final paper would be an abstract, which is 150 words-ish, just discussing this, what the paper is going to do. The introduction, which you've already written, the literature review, which is directly taken from your annotated bibliography, the methods, which we've been working on right now, then the results and the conclusion, and then the which is what we'll be working on this week, and then the reference which is also taken from the annotated bibliography. So you'll have everything written, you know, at least in that first form, and then you'll go back, hopefully read it. Sometimes I can't make myself read my stuff after I've done it. It's just like, it looks contemptible to me, and I feel like I did a horrible job, and I don't, it's like stage fright almost, only with a piece of paper.
Tired of looking at it.
You get tired of looking at it. But if you can look at it and read through it, and then the abstract is like, oh, now, you know, now I see. And I will post an example of an abstract for you as well. Let's see. I think I even have one here. Let me see what this is. Oh, and I've got this. Oh, that's right. They started double spacing the abstracts. Let me get you this shared here. I forgot about that. That's like a new thing that they used to be single spaced, and now they want it to be double spaced. So, Bo, do you see the word abstract in the document on your screen? Okay, good.
Yep.
Yep. So, this was another paper about how the economy in Wyoming could shift based on the development of students who are capable of doing computer work, you know. And I mean, So I want to be really clear, I'm an old petroleum engineer. I love oil and gas. I love nuclear. I love all of it. I'm not saying that the state of Wyoming needs to get rid of coal or any statement like that at all. I just mean, I just love opportunities for kids. And I love, as a mother of 3 relatively young adults, I really love that they might have opportunities to stay here so that they can come have dinner with their mama. So, I mean, these are the important things, right? But
Bring the grandkids.
and bring the grandkids. That's right. That's exactly right. But so so I'm not proposing like when you read my stuff, I'm not proposing like let's get rid of coal. I'm just saying, if there's a potential that we could really educate our kids to be good at computers and have a good pool of people who are able to work with computers and get well-paying jobs that they could do in Wyoming, that's just a good thing for our state. So that's what this abstract, but I always have to say that because I have had somebody call me a liberal, when I write something like this. I'm like, well, I'm a petroleum engineer, so not really, but so I kind of like all of it. I like all the energy, but I do, I'd love to participate in the 21st century with our students. And so that was kind of what that was about. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, but you see with the abstract, put the word abstract at the top, you don't indent, it's a single paragraph. And then it's 150 to 225 or something words, something in that area. So, all right.
I'm gonna do it like Ronnie did it, because,
Did you like Ronnie's
hopefully-
paper?
yeah. It's good to have an example. I'm thinking of changing
Right.
my topic to jumping out of an airplane
Yeah.
on some stage.
He was a very fun student to have in class. And I've actually, speaking of youthful follies, I've had Ronnie as a student at 3 separate decades. And so, so, and he's always been an excellent student, but I think this one stuck. So it's all good. But all right. So Bo, do you have any questions?
Nope, I don't.
All right, great. Well, listen, I'm going to be here all week. So if you do have any questions, just send me, just give me a Calendly invite and we'll get together and make sure that you're all cleared up. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. You have a wonderful night. We'll talk to you later.
You
Okay.
too.
Bye-bye.